This is a story about Andy and his things, his clothes and his toys, and one very special present. Right now, Andy is using things that belong to his school. Don't you think it's fun making things like this? Andy does. Miss Ballard is pleased. But now it's time for the children to return to their desks. They're going to practice writing. Andy likes that. He likes to write. He'll hurry back to his desk. But Andy forgot something. In this class, whoever uses something is responsible for putting it away, so it will be there the next time somebody wants it. Isn't that the right way to take care of things? Well, now for paper and a pencil. Where is Andy's pencil? Here it is. But look at that. The point's broken. Now he'll have to sharpen it while Miss Ballard and the whole class wait for him. Everybody's looking at Andy. It's no fun to have kids say you're the slowest one in the class and call you a baby. It's bad when your teacher is disappointed in you and you don't seem to have a single friend. Wouldn't it be better for Andy if he'd only learned to take care of things? After school, Andy doesn't feel like playing with his friends, but he wants to do something. Now what does he see? This is Fred. He isn't one of Andy's regular friends. He's older. But Andy's thinking Fred might be a friend, and Fred's thinking that Andy may be almost big enough. If Andy can have an older boy as a friend, then nobody can call him baby anymore. So he asks Fred to come and see his tadpoles. He has 2 live ones. Fred might like to see the tadpoles sometime. Then Andy tells Fred about something else he has, something he received as a present. Fred would like to see that. So off they go to Andy's house. This is Andy's room. Here's Andy with Fred. And here are Andy's tadpoles. See? Oh, they're dead. Now Andy remembers he hasn't thought to feed them for many days. And that was one of his responsibilities. But he can still show Fred his special present. That's what Fred came to see. If Andy can only find it. Where is it? His very best thing of all. He just has to find it, because Fred might not believe him, and Fred says he should have known better than to come home with a little kid. Now Andy's really alone. And look at this, his jet airplane. Poor Andy. Won't he ever learn to take care of things? Here's June, Andy's sister. She wants to play. But Andy says no. It seems Andy just can't get along with anybody today. Anybody but Mother. Maybe Mother knows where Andy's special present is. No, she doesn't. But she does know that something is troubling Andy. What is it? So Andy tells her about what happened at school, and about Fred and the tadpoles and losing his present and, well, why do things like that happen? Mother says, well, Andy, why do you think? Because Mother knows, and Andy knows, and we know that those things happen because Andy hasn't learned to take care of things. Now June is having trouble with her things. Gretchen's head has come off, and June wants Mother to fix it. Suddenly, Andy says, "Let me fix it." Right now, he's going to start showing that he can take care of things. Don't you suppose Andy is glad to do something to make up for being so mean to June? Besides, it's fun fixing things. When you're through, it's more fun to know you've done a good job. And it's fun to see how much people appreciate it. Now Andy knows he has friends. He thinks he can fix that jet airplane, too. But some things can't be fixed. And no fixing will find things you've lost, such as Andy's favorite present. No, Andy will have to take care of his things all the time. He'll begin right now by putting his jacket and cap away where they belong. Then he'll know just where to find them tomorrow morning. That's another one of his responsibilities. But uh-oh, there's a button missing. Well, Mother will be glad to sew on a new button, especially now that Andy is helping her by looking after his clothes. Andy's going to look after his other things, too. He's going to have a certain place for each thing and keep each thing in its place. Andy knows one way to show Fred and the kids at school that he's no little kid. And he's really quite grown up. Ever since then, Andy's been thinking about how grown up it is to take care of things. When he cleans up his wagon, he thinks about how often he sees the firemen working over their fire engines and equipment to make sure everything is always ready to use. Andy has some new fish in place of his tadpoles. When he feeds them, he thinks of Cousin Len, who helps his father take care of the cows on his dairy farm, where Andy likes to visit. When Andy picks up things that might cause someone to fall and hurt himself, he thinks of his friend the policeman, who helps the children go to and from school safely. Andy has learned, too, that some things break very easily. So he must be especially careful of them and use them just as they're supposed to be used. That's being grown up, too. Many men work with things made of glass and with other things that have to be handled very carefully. Some things that are fun to do are also messy. But Andy has learned to clean up the mess as soon as he's through. After all, doesn't Mother spend a great deal of time washing dishes and cleaning up after the family has eaten? And when Father does his jobs about the house, doesn't he clean up and put away the tools? Yes, cleaning up after yourself is a grown-up way to behave. And what's more, you'll know you've done something that's a real help to your family. Taking care of things is a real help at school, too. You just know Miss Ballard appreciates Andy's help. And nobody thinks of Andy as a baby anymore. Everybody likes Andy. Today, Andy and June are having fun helping Father take care of the yard. But what is Andy so excited about? Do you know what? He's found his special present. What do you suppose it is? It's a camera. Andy's own camera that he got on his birthday. Of course, it's a little dirty. Andy should never have left it outdoors. Can they fix it? Father thinks they can fix it this very afternoon. In a little while, the camera is fixed. What's more, now that Andy has shown that he can be responsible for taking care of things and using them properly, Father thinks he's big enough to use the camera and take real pictures. Andy wants to take a picture of Fred, the boy who came to see the camera the day Andy couldn't find it. Remember? Now Fred is glad to play with Andy. He knows that Andy is not too little to be a friend. If you want people to know that you're growing up, learn how to take care of things. You'll have more fun, too.
George is in a hurry this morning, and no wonder. The mail carrier is arriving at the farm where he lives. George just put me a package for him, a really big package. What do you suppose is in that package? In just a moment, we'll see. It's a new suit, a new wool suit that will help him keep warm in winter. And there are 2 new cotton shirts that will look neat and cool in the summer. And there's a new necktie. George is pleased with his new clothes. But suddenly, he wonders, where did my suit come from? Where was it made? What was it made of? Then George had an idea. He'd go to see McTavish. Maybe McTavish could help him find out. Now, who do you think McTavish could be? A sheep. This is George's very own pet sheep, McTavish. And he is being sheared today with all the other sheep. In the spring, the long, heavy winter wool of the sheep is trimmed off. But where does the wool go after it leaves McTavish? George doesn't know, but he thinks he knows how to find out. He's going to write a letter. Then he'll fasten the letter to the wool from his sheep, McTavish. This is what the letter says. Dear friend, this wool came from my pet sheep, McTavish. Please write and tell me what happens to the wool and how it is made into clothing. Yours truly, George Moore. Isn't that a good letter? Well, George hopes it is. Now, let's go along with George's letter and see what happens. First, a railway train took the wool and George's letter to a woolen mill in Massachusetts. Here at the mill, a man named Michael Flaherty found George's letter and read it. He decided he would answer George's letter, and this is what he wrote.
Dear George, the wool from your pet sheep came to the factory where I work. The first thing we do with wool is inspect it and sort it. Then we wash it in big vats, because the wool comes to us very dirty and greasy. The tangly wool is combed and combed in a carding machine until it comes out all smooth and fine. Spinning machines twist and tug the wool and spin it out into yarn. The yarn is dyed different colors. On this weaving machine, the yarn moves back and forth until there's a big roll of new woolen cloth. This is the wool cloth we make in our mill. But we only make cloth here, so I will send your letter along with the cloth to the clothing factory. Your friend, Michael Flaherty, Newton, Massachusetts.
So George's letter and the wool cloth arrived at a factory in New York City where wool clothing is made. This is David Rubin, who found George's letter, and he was kind enough to answer the letter too.
Dear George, my job is in a clothing factory in New York City. I take the wool cloth and lay out a pattern on top for cutting. Then I cut out the pieces for many suits all at once with a special cutter. There are many expert tailors here in the factory who sew the pieces together. These people work very fast, each of them making a different part of the suit. Some of the machines sew buttonholes, and others sew on cuffs and sleeves. So suits are finished, ready to go to stores and be sold. Your friend, Dave Rubin, 1358 Claremont Street, New York City.
New York City. My, but George's suit came a long way. But how do we find out about George's cotton shirts? Where does cotton come from? And how does it become a shirt? This time, George writes to his uncle, Howard Williams. And this is how Mr. Williams answers.
Dear George, we raise cotton on my farm down here in Alabama. Cotton is a plant, you know, a plant that has big white bowls of cotton fiber and seeds. In late summer, we pick the cotton here on the farm. The cotton is sent to a cotton gin where all the seeds are combed out. After the cotton is combed and carded, it is spun into thread. In another factory, the cotton thread is woven into bolts of cloth. In a clothing factory, the cloth is cut and sewn into shirts and other things we wear, and sent off across the country to stores everywhere. Yours truly, Uncle Howard, RFD1, Centerville, Alabama.
So that's where George's shirts came from. But now, the cloth in the necktie is different from the wool in the suit or the cotton in George's shirts. Where does the nylon in the necktie come from? Nylon is a new kind of fiber made from chemicals. Here, the chemical is squirted out through small holes to make soft, strong, synthetic textile fibers for neckties and for stockings and underwear and other things. Now, Mother has a beautiful silk dress. George knows where silk comes from Japan, where silkworms spin very fine threads. And Japanese workers weave the threads into silk cloth, like the cloth in Mother's dress. George knows where leather for shoes comes from, too. Skins from these cattle are sent to factories where the skins are tanned. Pieces just the right size are cut out and then sewn together to make shoes. There are other kinds of shoes, too. Shoes made of rubber to keep our feet dry in the rain. And George knows that some rubber comes from rubber trees in the East Indies. Sap is collected from these trees and used to make rubber. So many people help us get our clothing, people from all around the world. George is proud of the letters he has received from some of these people. And now, when he goes to town, it's twice as much fun looking in store windows, because George knows where clothing comes from. Do you?
What get on your skin that makes you sick and can't even...
Well, that's a sign for poison.
But what about the bottles, jars, and cans in your home that don't say poison, but that could be dangerous? Remember last week when your oldest son, Ronnie, was working in the garage on his car? He was using kerosene to clean some of the parts.
La 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 da dum dee da dum da dee la da Scooby Doo. What a neat car! What a neat car!
When he finished, he had some left over and wanted to save it. Not thinking, he put it in an empty ginger ale bottle.
Oh, look at that. Oh, missed a spot. There we go.
Wow. That's neat.
It was awfully hot that day. Little Egbert came into the garage, and boy was he thirsty. He saw the ginger ale bottle with what looked like ginger ale.
Oh, boy, ginger ale.
Oh, Egbert!
The kerosene made him so sick only the doctor at the hospital could help.
Oh, look, it's another poison case, I can tell. Oh, this is too bad, the little feller. Oh, such a shame. Oh, they'll put the poison machine. The pump here to pump out his stomach. Oh.
It was very careless of Ronnie to leave a poison like kerosene in a ginger ale bottle, wasn't it? And it was also very wrong of Egbert to take something without asking.
I see your point.
And what about the time a few months ago when your daughter Susie was helping her mother polish the silver? Think back. It was hard getting that polish out of the bottle, so she put some polish in a teacup to make it easier.
Hello? Oh, hi, Mike. Uh-huh. Really? Really? Oh, that's too much. Uh-huh. Oh, Mikey. Yeah. Uh-huh. Oh, what's that? Wow. That's something.
Oh, Egbert!
Yeah. Look.
It was kind of careless for Susie to put silver polish in a teacup. And Egbert, he took without asking.
Remind him about last winter. Go ahead.
Yeah, remind him.
Ah, yes, last winter. Egbert was sick in bed this time with a cold. His mother wanted him to take some baby aspirin.
No, I don't want a date.
Oh, but Egbert, really, it's very good. It's just like candy.
It is?
Oh, that must be Millie at the door.
It is. Candy.
When Mother came back, it was lucky she saw that most of the aspirins were gone, because Egbert didn't even have an upset tummy.
Oh, Egbert!
But even though he didn't have an upset tummy, he had to go to the hospital, the doctor, and that tube. This time, though, Egbert wasn't as lucky as he had been. He had to stay in the hospital for 2 days and nights. Too much aspirin at one time is like poison. It was careless of your wife to leave medicine in a place where Egbert could reach it. And it was wrong to tell him that aspirin was like candy.
And Egbert, he took without asking.
I know. When was the 4th time?
Think back to last spring, Mr. Careless. Remember when you were using your green thumb in the garden when your flowers were growing?
And so were the bugs.
You were spraying the garden with the bug killer when your neighbor came over to borrow some tools.
Hi, Will. Say, can I borrow your lawnmower? Mine's on the blink again.
Oh, why, sure. I'll leave this bug spray right here where it'll be handy where I can come back. Come on in. I think they're inside the garage. Nice weather we're having, isn't it? A lot of bugs, though.
Yeah. Oh, I noticed the bugs. Boy, there are a lot of them.
Oh, wow. Hi, Egbert. What's that? Oh, you.
Oh, Egbert! Oh, Angela! Oh.
At least there was no tube down his throat this time. But the doctor did stick needles into their arms, and they had to take another bath. Imagine, 2 baths in 1 day. Leaving a bug spray around is a bit careless. And then, of course, when it comes to Egbert,
He took without asking.
we all know that you and your family love Egbert very much, but really, this cannot go on.
No more.
Now I see what you mean. This must stop. We'll poison-proof our home.
Yay! Whee!
Yay! That's quite good for you.
Good for you, Careless. Yay!
Sarah?
Yes, dear?
Get all your detergents, bleaches, and polishes, and put them on a special shelf that Egbert can't get into.
Yes, dear.
Ronnie?
Yeah, Dad?
Gather up all the poisons in the house and put them in the back cabinet. I'll get a lock.
Poisons? You mean like ant cakes and insect sprays?
Yes, and paint thinners and paint remover. Read the label.
Righto, Dad.
Yay!
Woo! Yay!
Susie,
Yes, Daddy.
get all the medicines, aspirin, cold pills, iodine, you know, and we'll lock them away, too.
Yes, sir.
Okay, everybody. Make sure that there is nothing in any bottle, teacup, or glass that could be poisonous. We'll have a poison-proof house.
Woo! Can I help, Daddy?
Egbert, you can help by never, ever taking anything without asking. Okay?
Okay, Daddy.
Good boy.
It's a good thing houses can be made poison-proof, because boys and girls can't.
Is your house poison-proof?
Our story begins in the fine, modern Union service station of today. It's the best and most convenient place in the world to buy batteries. But not enough people do. Why? Well, because 3 out of 4 batteries aren't sold. They're bought because your customer had starting trouble. More batteries should be purchased here. The modern 76 station is conveniently located. It's equipped with the most modern gasoline pumping equipment. It has the finest in service facilities. It can provide the best of everything in the way of tires, accessories, and batteries. Its operator is one of his community's outstanding businessmen. His customers are both his neighbors and travelers from far places. He's very important to modern-day civilization. It was not always like this. For example, this is how it was in the Stone Age. There was plenty of petroleum, but nobody really knew what to do with it. They tried drinking it, but after a few drinks, people tended to have rocks in their heads. They tried rubbing it in their hair, but it wasn't long until the customers made them ashamed of using that greasy kid stuff. It was a pity, too, because most of the automobile had already been perfected. They had the wheel, they had the top, and the seats, and the hubcaps, and the bumpers. They even had the radiator ornament, but they were lacking just one thing, the battery. In the Stone Age, nobody had invented the battery. The service station operator in those days didn't do much business. His helper wasn't much help, and even his customer wasn't much of a customer. It's a shame, too, because they had everything they needed to make a battery. They had lead powder around someplace. All they had to do was work it into a lead framework, add sulfuric acid and water, and wait for a fast charge. probably how the first battery was born. And that's when the service station business really came to life. And the dealer really began to make money. But that's what started it all. The battery. Our 76 dealer of Roman times had a pretty good spot on the Appian Way, where he could get a good share of the chariot business. By then, you could get all sorts of batteries. Nero had one. He was trying to figure out some way of developing an electric fiddle. The lions and tigers were doing so well, they were trying to rig up lights for night games at the Colosseum. A lot of the military traffic stopped in from the Punic Wars. But the poor service station operator was frequently too busy talking to battery salesmen to take care of the customers. Of course, he also had his own Union Oil representative, who came up from Rome periodically to call on him and talk about service station matters. He was a nice man, and he gave the dealer a lot of valuable help. He learned, for example, that the Union 76 line of batteries was the best he could handle. This was less surprising than the Christians beating the lions and tigers, but the Union man had some very good reasons. We can explain the reasons if you'll just think of this slave girl as a battery. I know it isn't easy, fellows, but try. She's a battery. He said that the company had made a very careful study of all the available lines and had selected the one providing the longest and most satisfactory service for the customer. Since they were a big company, everybody wanted their business, and they could choose the best battery. However, they had made their own personal choice from the entire line of batteries developed by this manufacturer, selecting only those types which were most in demand and which would prove to be the best-selling items for their own dealers. He emphasized that this selection had been made from the point of view of people in the service station business, using their own marketing experience, a battery line tailored for Union 76 dealers. He had some other interesting observations. One was that the Union name on a battery made it easy to sell. Also, the Union credit card made it easy to buy. For the dealer, there would be just one invoice for all Union products and less bookkeeping. The line was short and sweet. It was easy to understand and therefore easy to sell. The company's advertising would do a fine job of attracting attention to its batteries so that they would win the acceptance of the greatest number of customers and generally make batteries an important source of profit to our dealer. Gasoline and oil advertising helps to sell batteries. Batteries help to sell gasoline and oil. The battery guarantee is backed by Union and is good at every Union station. This is not true of many batteries which are available only on a local basis. But time doesn't stand still in the service station business. In no time at all, our 76 dealer was specializing in night work and trying to find a profitable corner on the round table. He was still selling a lot of gasoline, Sir Lancelot always liked a tank full before he set out to rescue princesses who were held captive in castles by ugly old giants. And the fire-breathing dragons had created quite a demand for high tests. Our dealer himself had been known to rescue an occasional damsel in distress. He was developing a profitable sideline in tune-ups and adjustments. However, the battery was still a mainstay of his business. And there had been so many improvements in batteries that you just wouldn't believe it. One reason for this was Merlin. Merlin really was a magician when it came to batteries. He had established the Merlin Battery and Magic Shop just out of the high-rent district in downtown Camelot. His little apprentices were hard at work every day. They weren't having much luck in the magic department where they were trying to turn lead into gold. But over in the battery department, they were really turning lead into money. I know you'll be surprised at this sort of plant in Merlin's time, but he had to develop it during a shortage of magic potions. In this engineering and research center, Merlin has wizards working on Union batteries. The building is the size of a small suburban castle, 43,000 square feet. Some 160 people are involved in making future Union 76 batteries even better. Among the little wonder workers is the spectrograph, which identifies tiny impurities. The electron microscope, which compares the surface differences and the nature of good and bad metals. Test machines which supply data on product strength. The plant also includes a completely equipped chemical laboratory for analysis and evaluation of the raw materials of batteries. There are departments for the testing necessary in the evaluation of a battery. They measure cycle life, cell performance under various charge rates and discharge loads, and under varying conditions of temperature and climate, shelf life, and retention of charge and storage. As Merlin says, this is what it takes nowadays to run an efficient battery and magic shop. Our aim is to maintain the highest standards in the business and to work constantly to improve Union 76 batteries. That means a battery that will have greater starting power, greater staying power, and greater selling power. It sure beats love potions and magic spells. The existence of such a plant means a great deal to our service station operator, too. He wants to provide the best in batteries for his customers, to keep them happy. He knows that when they have a lot of trouble on their hands, he has a lot of trouble on his hands. Fortunately, Merlin was around testing one of his magic potions. Caliph of Baghdad has just pulled into our dealer's service station, and he's telling about some of his recent experiences. He's been driving a compact rug, but now he has this big luxury carpet. It's a Persian 9x12, and he wants to see that it gets the best possible care. He's been dealing with another station down the street, operated by a fellow named Ali Baba. He says Ali Baba was all right, but that he had some partners who were a little bit shady. The Caliph wants to know what kind of service he's going to get from our friend, particularly battery service. The Caliph says if the service is good, he'll reward him with this little flower from his harem. If the service is bad, he will cut off his head. Achoo! Oh, Effendi, says our hero. May the great prophet smile on you, and why are you on this battery kick? The caliph said Ali Baba had sold him a little battery that was underpowered for his big 9x12 rod. And he got stranded in the desert. The caliph doesn't mind walking a mile in the interest of a great advertising slogan, but he hates to be hoofing it around in the desert because some ninny sold him the wrong battery. At this point, our hero remembers the magic headlight left behind by a customer named Aladdin. He rubs it, hoping against hope for a genie who knows how to check batteries. And who should appear but his Union Oil man. He bows 3 times to Mecca and 4 times to company headquarters and offers to explain about battery care. If he can just borrow the dealer's camel, he says, he'll be happy to demonstrate. Every time you raise the hump or the hood, take a look at the battery. If it's dirty or corroded or cracked or loose, always check further. These signs mean trouble. If it needs recharging, tell the driver. Batteries sometimes do need recharging, and you can save your customer time, aggravation, and expense. If it needs replacement, tell him so. Customers don't like trouble. They want to be told. Do you know that 1 out of every 3 cars is going to need a new battery in the next 12 months? This camel is lucky because he carries a spare battery, but nobody else does. When the customer's battery gives out, he's stuck. The best way to test the customer's battery and keep him out of trouble is to use the Union 2200A battery tester. After attaching the cables, simply throw a 15-second load on the battery. This battery has a dead cell. When the new battery is installed, be sure to test it too, to assure the customer that his new battery is functioning perfectly. The genie says he's very glad to be of service, and if there's nothing further, he has to be getting back to his headlight. The caliph is very impressed with the demonstration, and he says if the dealer will give him this kind of service, he won't cut off his head. The dealer says if he doesn't give him this kind of service, his head ought to be cut off. The girl doesn't say anything, which is unusual. In the service station business, as in other walks of life, there is a time of peace and a time of war. Our hero now wears the uniform of a great war. But let me tell you, fellas, that he was right there with the spirit of '76, and later on he was proud to wear that Union uniform. He and his sergeant were faced with the problem of getting up San Juan Hill. In spite of this weak battery, he knew that with a Union 76 battery, they would be at the top already. And it would be such a smooth trip they shouldn't call themselves Rough Riders. But with all 3 of them working together, he felt it might be possible to recharge even this battery enough to get to the top. Later, our hero talked about the business wars he'd been through, and how many times he'd been saved by his old familiar slogan, "Trust in Union and keep your batteries hot." His companions were fascinated. He explained that he'd been through many gasoline wars, and that he'd survived because of the extra income he'd realized from TBA. He'd written all of this down in code so the enemy wouldn't get it and open their own station on top of San Juan Hill. Of course, what he said wasn't secret, so we don't care if everybody knows. Service stations sell 40% of all batteries. They have the best chance to sell. The customer keeps bringing it in. The dealer must tell him when it needs replacement. The American Automobile Association reports 18 million trouble calls each year due to battery and electrical failures. Alert service station operators could have prevented many of these and sold more batteries. They could have replaced the battery in their own station instead of putting the driver to the trouble and expense of an emergency. This was good ammunition. For every 100 cars, somebody sells 40 batteries every year. His profit on battery sales amounted to about 1 cent for every gallon of gasoline sold. Or to put it another way, for every 10,000 gallons of gasoline sold, he figured to sell 16 batteries. It was a very interesting figure. With this business, our hero not only had extra profits, he had the extra resources to fall back on when the going was tough and the competition hot and heavy. He said this won a lot of battles for him against the fellow who was only pumping gas. Fortunately, about this time, help arrived in the form of a new Union 76 battery. The dealer discarded the weak battery and installed the new one. The sergeant was now fully equipped to obey the command when Teddy ordered, "Charge!" Now we find our hero putting the finishing touches to the finest new service station in the thriving community of East Liver. It's been a struggle, but look what hard work can get you. He knows a great deal about the service station business, and he has been well schooled in the battery business. He knows that the company line of batteries is the best. He knows, too, that it has been selected with care, and that its quality is maintained by the finest research and engineering in the world. He knows how to service it, how to install it, how to check it. He knows that Union Oil will make sure that he's always well supplied. He knows about the service station business and about batteries. He knows about his helper in the service station business, too. He knows that she's a girl, for instance. He also knows how profitable the battery business is, because with the profits from his battery sales, he's been able to make the down payment on a snappy new runabout. So every night they count the money from the battery sales, knowing that one day soon the runabout will be theirs, all theirs. Then one day a rich, worldly stranger arrives in town. He smokes big 10-cent cigars. He has been to Kansas City and Omaha and seen gold spittoons. He knows jokes out of Captain Billy's whiz-bang, and he frequently drinks whiskey at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. He is a regular rotter. He looks down his nose at our hero because he isn't so worldly. And you can't tell by looking at him that he knows so much about the service station and battery business. Then he looks down his nose at our hero's helper. He sees right away that she is a girl. He makes advances right away because he is so worldly. He isn't a worldly stranger for nothing. Fortunately, she can tell that he drinks whiskey and smokes cigars, so she repulses his advances. But the worldly stranger is not so easily repulsed. He tips his hat and toots his horn. He asks her to come down for a strawberry sundae and invites her on hay rides and things like that. Our hero knows what is going on. He is smart. He checks the battery as he always does. Zounds! It is cracked and corroded and in need of replacement. Our hero is torn between duty and distaste, between duty and distaste, duty and distaste. Naturally, duty wins. But when he returns with the battery, what meets his eye? is no match for the stranger until the battery has failed. Our hero captures the villain, who turns out to be a big city swindler, and wins a rich reward. He credits it all to remembering to check the battery, because this told him the villain wouldn't get far. But we're a little hard up for a moral for this story. If our hero had replaced the battery, the villain might have escaped with his girl. However, oh, this was the jazz age, all right. There was the chic and the chic. There were flashy new cars, some of them with rumble seats. These were the days of flaming youth, and bathtub gin, and hip flasks. This was when youth first found out that alcohol and gasoline don't mix. Or if they do mix, it isn't likely to catch on. Service stations were spreading across the country. People were driving more. Cars were better. Gasoline was better. Batteries were better. But some people were worse. People like Scarface. He was a rough, tough customer. He had ways of getting what he wanted, and what he didn't want, he didn't get. He sold protection. Our hero said, "You're the one who needs protection. Look at that battery." Do you know that you have driven nearly 3 years with that battery? Many times pursued by police, sometimes to and from funerals? Do you know that in summer heat, batteries lose much of their power? Do you know that in winter, cars are twice as hard to start, that batteries are only half as strong when it's cold? My test shows that your battery is worn out and should be replaced. Do you prefer to pay cash or charge it on your credit card? Scarface says the price is too high. Our hero says that his price is competitive with any battery of comparable quality. Scarface says he prefers another brand, and he knows a store down the street that sells them. Our hero says that his battery is as good as there is and that his fine company stands behind it. Scarface says, "So put it in already." He says he'll try to hold off the cops until the new battery is installed. So please remember that the customer is not always right. When it comes to batteries, the service station man is the expert. And it's up to him to see that the customer gets what's coming to him. Well, here we are back at the modern Union 76 service station. Thanks to our quick trip through history, you now know many of the good things about your Union 76 line of batteries. First, it's a time saver. You deal only with your Union Oil representative and not a host of other salesmen. Then the batteries are tailor-made, selected because they exactly match the needs of the Union 76 customer. You can assure him of the best possible performance and streamlined service. You have the benefits of the Union Oil credit card plan. It's easy for the customer to charge battery purchases, and it simplifies your bookkeeping. The Union Oil advertising and sales campaigns back your Union 76 battery line with maximum effectiveness, and the battery guarantee is backed by Union itself. You know that the quality of the battery is maintained by the most extensive and modern research and development facilities. And that Union Oil itself will thoroughly train you in sales and service of the Union 76 line of batteries. This training exactly fits Union service station needs. Most of all, you know that the Union 76 line offers the maximum sales potential for the service station, and that this extra revenue means a better and more profitable all-round operation. With a record like that, it's no wonder we look forward with confidence to the service station of the future. They lived happily ever after.
It's morning, Lyle. Come on, don't be a sleepyhead. Outdoors, the sun's shining. It's a wonderful day. That's right, wake up. Goodness, this room looks a dreadful mess.
If you're looking for your clothes, they're still on the floor where you threw them last night. Also, a glove and ball for someone to stumble over and get hurt.
A clean shirt? Just open the drawer and you'll find one. Uh-oh, I don't see how you'll find anything in there. I thought you straightened it out last week. Hurry now and get dressed. Breakfast will be ready soon. And Lyle did hurry.
He hurried so fast he splashed water all over.
He hurried so fast he squirted too much toothpaste on his brush and some dribbled over on the wash bowl. His towel and washcloth made a dribbly mess. This is Tom. It's time for him to be up, too. This is his clothing, folded neatly and placed on the chair. Tom doesn't need to look for his shoes. He knows where they are, side by side, right where he put them last night. A clean shirt, clean socks, easy to find when drawers are in good order. Tom is orderly in the bathroom, too. He puts the cap back on the toothpaste. He wrings his washcloth and folds it neatly on the rack. His towel is placed there, too. At the breakfast table, he eats his cereal and drinks his milk carefully. Time to leave for school now, so he tells his mother goodbye. On his way out, Tom empties the wastebasket for his mother. Tom's bicycle is in the garage. This protects it from the rain and keeps the paint in good condition. Sometimes Tom stops by Lyle's house and they go to school together. But this morning, Lyle said he wasn't ready for school for he hadn't finished his breakfast. Besides, he couldn't ride his bicycle because it had a flat tire. So Tom rode off to school. The civil defense warden had told Lyle's father of the hazards around their house. He said a safe house was a clean house, and this one was not safe at all. This is the inside of their garage. No wonder Lyle couldn't put his bike away. He had to leave it outside, and it's all rusty and falling apart. This is Lyle's place at the breakfast table. It doesn't look very nice, does it? Mother gave him some fruit to eat on the way to school. She also told him to take a napkin, and he did. As Lyle left for school, he thought perhaps tonight he'd come home and fix his bicycle tire. Then he could ride to school with Tom, and that was lots more fun than walking. You can always tell which way Lyle goes to school. He leaves a litterbug trail that's easy to follow. Do you remember Lyle's mother had given him an orange to eat on the way to school? Well, Lyle began to peel the orange, and being a real litterbug, down went the peelings. Down on the sidewalk, out into the road, and up into the trees to hit imaginary birds. Lyle wiped his mouth so it was nice and clean, and then threw away the napkin. Here he comes on the school playground, finishing his orange, and away goes the last of the peelings. Lyle the litterbug left a trail. A litterbug trail. It's messy, isn't it? One day the teacher showed a movie about the beautiful state in which they lived, and she explained that it was everyone's job to help keep their state clean and tidy, so that its beauty could be seen and enjoyed by all. The movie showed a family going for a ride. Mother has prepared a picnic lunch to take with them. She's a member of a garden club and has a litterbug picture on the windshield of the family car. She also has a trash bag. She knows that trash does not belong on our highways. Many states now have laws to prevent littering on our highways and streets. After the picnic was over, they were very careful to pick up their belongings. Betty took all the trash to a rubbish can provided on the picnic grounds. There were signs that said, "Don't be a litterbug. Help keep our parks, beaches, and roadsides clean." When they left, the place where they'd had their picnic looked like this. No one could tell that a picnic had been eaten there. It was so nice and clean. But someone else had a picnic at the seashore. And here is what they left. Garbage that will attract disease-carrying flies, paper plates and napkins that will blow all over the beach. And look at those sharp, ugly edges of cut tins and broken glass that could cause serious injury. No one will ever want to have a picnic here again. It isn't safe. Parks and beaches are not the only places that should be kept tidy. Our city streets are important too. This is a street sweeper with a picture of a kangaroo picking up trash and putting it into its pouch. Wind blows dirt and sand into the streets. This machine was invented to clean and sweep our streets. See how tidy the street looks after the street sweeper has passed by? The last picture in the movie showed a nice, clean, and beautiful lake in one of our national parks. The rangers told everyone, "Don't be a litterbug. Help keep our park clean." When Lyle started home, he thought about the movie. He liked the nice, clean park. He liked the clean, freshly swept and washed street. He liked to think about running across the sandy beach without danger of tin cans and broken glass. He thought about the beautiful, clean lake. Lyle decided he would help keep his city a clean, safe, and healthy place to live. He started by picking up the trail of trash he had left on his way to school that morning. When he arrived home, he looked at his bike. He would fix the tire, clean and paint the bike so he could ride to school with Tom. He would talk to his dad, and they'd clean up the yard and straighten out the garage so he could put the bike away at night. That night, when he washed for dinner, he did it properly, folding his washcloth, hanging it neatly on the rack, using plenty of soap and water, scrubbing his arms as well as his hands. Comfortably settled in bed, Lyle smiled to himself. He knew he'd never be a litterbug again. For that day, he had learned to help keep his home, his city, and his country cleaner, healthier, and safer. Tomorrow, he could help at school, too, and he could keep helping the next day, and the next, and the next.
There's going to be a program at this school next rehearsal. The dance is about fairies in a garden. Joan is the... In the basket that just got sneezed on is candy for the fairies. It does seem that Joan is catching a cold. If she is, the others might catch it from her. Let's hope they don't. But a few days later, 2 of the fairies are absent. And the next day, only 1 fairy has come to rehearsal. And where's George? He's here with the school nurse. He has a fever and a cold. She's calling his mother. George should be home in bed. And on the next day, no one has come to rehearsal. Not even Joan. And the dance program has been postponed. Joan does have a cold, just as all the other children in the program have. Dr. Green is the family doctor. Joan's temperature is 100 degrees. That's higher than normal. She has a fever. Joan's temperature should be normal for at least 1 day before she goes out again. So she'll stay indoors to take care of her cold. Paper hankies are good because you can throw them away. Joan blows gently. That keeps germs in her nose going into her ears. Mother pinned this bag here. Mother turned on the vaporizer, too. That puts moisture into the air. Moisture helps Joan breathe more easily. Joan feels especially bad because it was probably her that the dance program had to be postponed. Colds are caused by germs called viruses. But Dr. Green has told Joan and her mother how to avoid colds. We'll see what Joan does, and then perhaps you'll be able to avoid colds too. It's several days later, and Joan is well again. She's going out to play. The thermometer outside her window says the temperature is 45 degrees. That means that it's cool outside. What kind of clothing should she wear? A light jacket? or a warmer coat? The coat. It's too cool for the jacket. Joe knows that one way to avoid colds is to be sure you're warm enough when you're outdoors. Should she wear a sweater, too? Not today. Then she might be too warm. The best way to avoid colds is not to be too warm or too cold when you're outdoors. Joan's friends are happy to see her again. They've missed her. Would she like a bite of Jim's apple? Oh, no. Taking bites from food that another person is eating is one way to get cold germs. Joan doesn't want another cold. But Sally thinks she may be getting one. Maybe she shouldn't be out today. She has been sneezing a lot. When Sally sneezes, she tries to cover her nose and mouth. Covering your sneeze helps to keep the viruses that cause colds from spreading. But if Sally is getting a cold, Joan doesn't want to be too close to her. Dr. Green told Joan that people with colds can spread them through the air, perhaps this far, by talking or coughing or sneezing. Now it's nearly dinner time. Joan always washes her hands before she eats. Plenty of soap and water helps you wash away all kinds of germs. Another way that Joan is avoiding colds is by using her own towel. Not that one, which no one else uses. Having your own towel helps you stay well. Now it's dinner time. Does it seem to you that Joan is avoiding a cold? Well, she is. Just look at her plate. Here are foods that are good for her. Joan's mother prepares nourishing foods every day to help keep her whole family well and strong. Keeping well and strong helps your body fight colds. Joan goes to bed early. She gets all the sleep she needs. That also keeps her body strong so it can fight germs. And so, Joan is avoiding a cold. At school, Joan and the other children have begun rehearsing for their program again. Their teacher hopes that no one gets a cold this time. Joan is certainly trying to avoid one, but sometimes, as much as you try to avoid a cold, you still might get one. That's what happened to Joan's father. He's got a cold now. Joan doesn't want to get too close to him. Joan's father is staying home today so that the other people in his office won't catch his cold. Mother has done some things that will help protect the rest of the family while Joan's father is sick. She's put paper cups in the bathroom so Father won't have to use the regular cup. He's going to gargle with some medicine Dr. Green gave him. He'll spit into the toilet to keep his cold viruses away from the sink. And here's where the paper cups go, in the wastebasket. Mother takes special care of the dishes and other things Father uses while he's sick. She boils them for 20 minutes. That will kill nearly all the germs on them. She pours boiling water on the rest of the dishes to help kill viruses that might not have been washed off. Everyone is working together to help Joan avoid a cold. At school, rehearsals are going very well. One of the girls got the sniffles and didn't come today, but everyone else seems fine. Joan's on her way home from school now. This is where she usually crosses the street. That puddle doesn't seem too deep. If Joan is very careful... Uh-oh, it's deeper than she thought. Now her feet are all wet. Wet feet can give you a chill. Anytime you're chilled, it's easier for you to catch a cold. Joan puts on dry shoes and stockings. She's trying very hard to avoid a cold. Do you think she'll avoid it? Let's see. The day of the dance program has come. Behind this curtain, the children are ready to begin. There's George, and there are the fairies. But where's Joan? Is she sick? Is she in bed with a cold? No, she's well. Joan avoided a cold. Good for Joan. Her mother and father are very proud of her. Joan won't forget how she avoided a cold. Try to remember what she did, so you'll avoid colds too.
We never know when we're going to need help for ourselves or somebody else.
What happened? I'm hurt, Bobby. I can't move. Get help. Quick, honey. Oh.
Sometimes when we need help, there are no adults nearby to help us. Knowing how to use the telephone properly can make it easy to get help quickly.
Culver City Police, Officer Clearing.
My aunt fell. She hurt herself. What should I do?
Is your name, please?
My name is Robert Jones.
Your phone number?
838-4699.
And your address?
1235 East Castle Street, Culver City.
Okay, we'll send a radio card to you and an ambulance. Stand by and wait for them, all right?
Okay.
1851 at 1235 East Castle Street. Ambulance injury, ambulance rolling, code 3.
In every community, there are people who are trained to help us. When we need help, we should know how to telephone them. The policeman had to ask Robert several questions that took up valuable time. Let's see if there's a better way to call. If you have the emergency telephone number or numbers by the telephone, you will be ready if you need help. What should Joyce be ready to tell the fireman who answers the phone?
Fire department.
My name is George Everett. I live at 2322 North Federal Avenue. My telephone number is 839-7399.
My garage is on fire. Come quickly.
That's Joyce Edwards at 2322 North Federal. Your phone number is 839-7399. All right, we'll be right there. Bill? What do you have?
Structure fire at 2322 North Federal. Battalion Chief, Engine 1, Engine 3, truck, and rescue.
Because Joyce gave the information the firemen needed quickly and correctly, they were able to come in time to put out the fire.
My leg.
Oh, no. Tommy, quick, come here. Take this. Go call for help. Hurry up.
Tommy doesn't have the emergency telephone numbers. How can he get help quickly? When we don't have the emergency telephone number we need, the quickest way to get help is to dial 0 for the operator.
Good morning, may I help you?
Yes, this is Tommy Nakanishi, and Jimmy got hurt sliding into the base. I'm at Litterbug Park, and the phone number is 839-0799. Could you send help?
Certainly, just stay on the line. I'll connect you with the police department.
Police department, may I help you?
Yes, this is an operator at Culver City Toll, and I have a boy on the line reporting...
When you don't know the emergency telephone number, the telephone operator can help you get the policeman, fireman, or an ambulance. When you telephone for help, tell who you are.
My name is Joyce Edwards.
Tell where you are.
I'm at Litterbug Park, and the phone number is 839-0799.
And tell why you need help.
My Aunt fell. She's hurt.
Whoever you talk to will send. If you know how to use the telephone properly, you can get help when you need it, for yourself or for others. What are the emergency telephone numbers where you live? To develop a better understanding of the wise use of credit, let's spend a few minutes with a certain individual we'll call Mr. Money.
Hello. For money. People can't seem to get along without me as cash or credit. Everybody knows there are many forms of credit available to consumers everywhere in our country. These young men and women are high school students preparing themselves for a successful and happy life. John Nelson will be graduating this year. Judy Naylor is... John and Judy are friends of mine. They drop in to see me from time to time, and we have some interesting discussions. Let's borrow them for a while.
Well, here we are again.
Yeah. Oh, hi, Mr. Money.
Hello, John. And how are you today, Judy?
Just great.
You remember our learning machine over there?
Well, sure, that's a great gadget.
What's it going to teach us today, Mr. Money?
I'll turn it on and you'll see.
Wow, look at all the signs.
You see them every day.
Sure, but they never make much sense to me.
They may look a little confusing. Actually, they're just advertising the many ways credit is used. By the way, John, what does credit mean to you?
Gosh, I don't know. Buy now and pay later, I guess.
Not bad. But there's a lot more to it than that. Credit has been defined as man's confidence in man. Webster's dictionary says credit is trust, given or received. Almost everybody in the United States uses credit in one form or another. Millions of people use credit to buy the things that add up to a better living.
Well, there's sure a lot of things that I'd like to buy for better living. How about giving me a little credit?
Nobody gives you credit, John. It's something you have to earn.
I don't understand, Mr. Money. How can you earn credit?
Well, we'll select another channel on the learning machine by remote control and see.
To earn credit, first you have to develop your character. You have to be trustworthy. Second, you have to have capacity to pay your bills. And third, you need some capital in the form of savings and other property. Scoring high on these 3 C's is essential to earn a good credit rating.
Gee, I bet my dad scores high on the 3 C's.
Oh, that's right, Judy. Your father has an excellent credit rating. Here's his record at the Credit Bureau.
Why, it goes way back before I was born.
Oh, yes, Judy. Your father earned and has always kept a good credit rating. Now that you know something about credit, let's bring back those signs that seem so confusing.
What do you mean, seemed confusing? I still don't get it.
All these signs are only advertising consumer credit. And there are 2 kinds. The first is non-installment credit, or single payment credit. The other kind is installment credit, which is repaid in 2 or more payments. Non-installment credit is usually extended for 30, 60, or 90 days, and repaid in a single lump sum. Non-installment credit is also available in stores, where people buy many things on a 30-day charge account. Credit cards for travel, gasoline stations, hotels, restaurants also provide non-installment credit. Electricity, water, gas, and telephone service are furnished by utility companies on monthly credit. Dentists and doctors extend credit by billing monthly. Non-installment credit is used by people who borrow cash and repay the loans in one lump sum. In addition to using non-installment credit, consumers use installment credit. It is usually extended for a period of a few months to 2 or 3 years. There are 2 kinds of installment credit: installment sales credit and installment cash credit. Installment sales credit is generally used to purchase such things as furniture, automobiles, appliances, and similar products. Since an automobile is one of the major purchases consumers make,
with installment sales credit, let's see what's involved. Here's the consumer, and here's the car dealer. The first thing to understand is that a legal contract spells out the agreement between the consumer and the dealer, including the number and amount of installment payments. The wise buyer makes certain he's getting good value for his money and always reads the fine print to make sure he understands all the terms of the contract before he signs it. Installment sales credit is used extensively by consumers, and so is installment cash credit. Millions of people use installment cash credit when they borrow cash from consumer finance companies or small loan companies, commercial banks, and other financial institutions. Consumers use installment cash loans to pay off accumulated bills to keep their credit rating good. They use installment cash loans to pay for vacations, to pay for special education for their children, or to send them to college. And people use installment cash loans to meet unexpected emergencies. So you can see the use of installment credit is mighty important to the consumers of this country.
Mr. Money, my father's been making payments on our home for years. Now, is this installment credit too?
Yes, John. That's called mortgage credit. And sometimes the payments may run for as long as 25 years.
Boy, I never realized people use credit in so many different ways.
Well, of course, some people prefer to wait to buy the things they want until they've saved enough money to pay cash for them. However, there are many people who are able to pay cash who prefer to buy things on credit, so as not to disturb their savings and investments.
But, Mr. Money, doesn't it cost more to buy things on credit?
Oh, yes, it does, Judy. Let us have the learning machine show us some of the factors that enter into the cost of providing credit to consumers.
One of the cost factors is maintaining up-to-date credit information. Then there are bookkeeping costs, keeping up the records, and collecting payments. In addition, there is the cost of borrowed and equity capital. The price you pay for credit service depends upon such things as the type of merchandise you buy, the amount of your down payment, how long you take to complete your payments, or if you borrow cash, how long you take to pay it back, the type of security you give, and your credit rating.
Now, there's another thing you both should know in order to use credit wisely. And that is how to figure the maximum amount of credit or other obligations you can safely afford.
Sounds like another good job for the learning machine.
Right. Let's see how you and Judy, as Mr. and Mrs. Homemaker, arrive at the amount you can safely afford to spend.
When Mr. and Mrs. Homemaker figure the maximum amount of credit or other obligations they can safely afford each month, they first deduct from gross income their income taxes, Social Security, and any other deductions they make to arrive at their take-home pay or disposable income. Under disposable income expenditures, they deduct essential living costs. Their discretionary income is left. Out of discretionary income, they provide for savings, insurance, recreation, and contributions to their church. After deducting any payments they are making on any installment purchases or cash loans, let's assume they have $30 of their monthly discretionary income left.
So $30 a month. That's the maximum total obligation we can safely afford to take on for new credit payments of any kind.
That's right, John.
Gee, Mr. Money, do girls have to learn all this about credit, too?
Well, Judy, women do most of the shopping when they get married, and very often spend most of the family income.
Well, sure. If a guy has to work hard to earn money, well, a wife ought to learn to help get the most out of it.
That's right. A husband and wife should plan together how the family earnings should be spent. Before they borrow cash or buy anything on installments, they should carefully figure whether the benefits of credit service are worth the extra charge.
Well, you can be sure, Mr. Money, that, well, before I buy anything I need on the installment plan or borrow cash for some good reason, I'll figure out all the costs to make sure the deal's worthwhile.
And so will I.
Good.
Oh, gee, our time's up already, Mr. Money. We can't be late for class.
When will we see you again?
Soon, I hope. Are you ready to go now?
Goodbye, Mr. Money.
And thanks a lot for helping us learn how to use credit wisely. So long.
Goodbye. To benefit from the many credit services available throughout the country, every consumer should understand the wise use of credit.
This leader is provided to permit the projectionist to complete adjustment of focus and sound level before the film begins. This is Diana. She wants to know why she should keep her teeth clean. This motion picture was made so that you too can learn the reason why teeth need to be cleaned regularly. Diana's teeth look clean and pretty, but remember that appearances may be deceiving. Did you know that right now there are many millions of tiny germs living on her teeth, and that everyone, you too, has more of these little fellows in his mouth than there are people in the whole United States? The reason you do not see these tiny germs is because they are as clear as water, and they stick to the tooth surfaces in little clumps that you can see right through. These clumps are really little towns or communities made up of thousands and millions of germs. The germs are also called microbes, bacteria, or protozoa, depending upon the kind they are. Because microbes are so tiny and hard to see, scientists use dyes to stain them so they can be seen and studied easily. One of the dyes used to stain bacteria is the same as the one used to color foods. This wafer is called a disclosing wafer and is made with the food color dye. It smells and tastes good. When it is chewed slowly for a half a minute and swished around the mouth, it colors the little clumps of germs red. The red color shows where the communities of microbes hide on the teeth. It marks the places where the bacteria live. Now, you may wonder how we know that the red scum on the teeth is made of bacteria and other tiny plants and animals that are alive and growing. The reason is that we can see them when we look at them through a powerful magnifying glass or microscope. When they are scraped from the teeth, we can look through the microscope and watch the little microbes in their homeland. The microscope makes tiny things look big. It magnifies the germs many, many times. Some move about very fast, others more slowly, some not at all. This one is a protozoa called an amoeba. This tiny fellow is another protozoa, but it has the big name trichomonad. These are living white blood cells that help protect our bodies against disease. Watch the white blood cells hold the twisty germs called spirochetes as they try to get away. The spirochetes also push and pull the red blood cells around. The red blood cells come from the gums because the germs irritate the gum tissues. The cells and the microbes kill one another. The battle goes on whenever the teeth have germs on them. In addition to the bacteria and cells from the body, there are many other tiny plants and animals living and growing on the teeth that we know little about. They grow and multiply on the fluids and cells that come from our gums. They also feed on the foods we put in our mouths at meal times and between meals. Many of the germs can change food into acids that soften the teeth, making cavities. Let's look at the microbes on a tooth outside the mouth. See the harmful mass on this tooth? It shows plainly when the food color is used to stain it red. In the next picture, you see the bacteria that remain in the cavity when the tooth is partly cleaned by brushing. When these are brushed off too, the damage they have done is shown by the white spots and holes. The needles show where the tooth has been softened by the waste products made by the bacteria. When the tooth is cut open, you see the holes in the hard enamel. The white spots are soft. Diana wants to know just how the bacteria make the waste products that eat away the tooth. When the teeth are not cleaned thoroughly, the germs grow into a big, thick, sticky mass that looks like this. When we eat sugar or sweets, some may go into the mass of living microbes sticking on the tooth surface. They use this food and form acid. When acid forms, it can be shown by a special indicator dye called methyl red. We'll put some of it on the mass of germs. Now we'll add some sugar and watch the change in color. As the sugar dissolves and the germs digest it, their acid waste products turn the indicator dye red. See how red the dye gets after 1/2 hour when the germs change the sugar to acid? Each time acids form from the foods we eat, the tooth is softened a little bit. As time goes by, you can see the damage done. The white spot grows bigger, like this, and gets softer and softer until finally a cavity forms. Unless the decay process is stopped, the cavity becomes real big, and the tooth may ache. It's easy to stop this damaging process by cleaning the teeth thoroughly and carefully with toothbrush, dentifrice, and dental floss. They must be cleaned regularly and checked from time to time with the disclosing wafers. The red dye shows the places that were not cleaned well. Mother can help you find the hiding places where the bacteria are hard to see. Then you can clean them off easily. The series of pictures you will see now shows what happens when you clean your teeth thoroughly and regularly. This girl was taught how to clean her teeth when she was 4 years old. She learned to keep them cleaner as she grew older and more skillful. Her dentist helped her to remove the germs she couldn't get off by herself when she went to his office for her regular checkup appointments. Now she is a healthy teenager with a fine set of teeth. She's 16 years old and has no cavities. Diana can keep her teeth pretty and healthy too when she uses disclosing wafers at home to mark the spots red where the disease-causing germs stick to her teeth. Then she sees what should be cleaned off and knows exactly where to use her toothbrush, paste, and floss. Finally, she checks with a second wafer to find out if the job is well done and if her teeth are really clean. When you learn to clean your teeth this way and keep them thoroughly clean day after day, your teeth will stay pretty and healthy too, year after year after year.